So what we're going to do in this part of the video is start getting into the Magnum programming. But because we don't really want to do that on a live system, that can be kind of destructive to somebody who's on air, we're going to use VirtualBox. Some of you may already use VirtualBox and know it's a very handy tool for working offline to practice building stuff or building a new show. But some of you may not have used it or don't know how to set it up. So we're going to go through the whole thing from the beginning to set up VirtualBox on your computer. And in this case, I'm going to be using a Mac, but it's very similar for a PC. So we go to virtualbox.org, we go to Downloads, and select your platform, either Windows or OS X for a Mac. I'm going to download that. And then what we need to do is figure out what version of Magnum we want to put in this VirtualBox. You can load a higher version of Magnum, and you can always load stuff that was built on a lower version, but you can't load something that was built on a higher version and load it into a lower version of Magnum on your server. So you have to be a little bit careful. So we're going to look at, in this case, I'm going to use 94 because they're up right now, and see what version of Magnum they're running. So to get to 94, they're at 10.20. 20 is the truck number, 5.5/Magnum. And the username is admin, and the password is admin as well. Here we're going to go to help and about, and this shows the version number 1.14.3. So when you log into your Gmail account, you can go up here to these little boxes, click on that, go to your Google Drive, there's a folder here for the Magnum VMs, and this is the one that I want. I'm going to download that, save it on my desktop. So now that I have that going for me, I'm going to open up the VirtualBox program that I just downloaded. And it tells me to double click on that icon. Install the software. I've got to go get it. Some applications and VirtualBox. So this is a totally clean version of VirtualBox. There's nothing in it at all. So the first thing we have to do is import the version of Magnum, or import the appliance as they call it. So you go up here to File, Import Appliance. I'm going to browse to it. Put that on the desktop. Here's that folder that I did. I'm going to keep all the defaults just as they are. It's going to import that version of Magnum. Now you can have several different versions of Magnum on here if you want, if you're going between trucks or different versions or whatever, and that won't hurt anything. So we have this one here, and now what we have to do is set up the virtual network on here. So to get into that on a Mac, you hit Command and comma, and that brings up the General tab. You go into Network, Host Only Networks, you click on the plus sign, and that added this VBoxNet 0. That's okay. Now we're going to look at this one again. We're going to go to Settings. And it's telling me right here that there's an invalid setting detected, and it can be any number of things. When you actually go to it, it'll tell you what the problem is, but there could be several things depending on your system. One of the things you can see is if you don't have enough RAM on there, you may have to adjust that slightly. If you don't have if the CPU is allocated more than what your computer will handle, you may have to do that. But in this case, this is telling me it's a port setting on the USB page, and it says that USB 2.0 3.0 is enabled for this machine, and that needs another expansion pack, so I don't really want to do that. So I'll go to my ports, USB, put it on here, click OK. The other thing we didn't do in settings is go to network and make sure that that is host only adapter, and that VBox Net 0 that we created is done, so that will launch. And that all looks good. So now that we have this connected, we're going to click on Start. And it's going to start launching the appliance. It'll boot up just like another computer running inside your computer. So now what we can do, if we want to see the status of what it's doing, now you'll see here this came up with a bad gateway. So that means it's not totally ready yet. But this is the IP of the virtual box, 192.168.56.101, and has the Magnum login. So if we want to see what's really going on in there, can erase that, put a colon, and then type in 2812. And this one, the username is admin and the password is admin. This brings up the Monit Service Manager. And this shows you all of the active processes. And this is something we're going to get into a little bit later in the video. But what we want to do, as long as we're here, is we want to enable a service called fake system. That's right here. That will create like a fake server and allow you to do uploads in there. So I started that service. And let's see where we're at on here. It's looking pretty good. If any of these processes are at 12, that's actually at 100%. We'll get into Monit a little bit later and some of the stuff that you see. And the overall percentage is still a little bit high. So let's see if we'll run here. Okay, so now we're in. It's up, and this is bringing in a totally blank version of Magnum. There's absolutely nothing in here. So now we can do our username as admin and the password as admin. When we get to the home page, there's nothing here because there's literally nothing in this system right now. So we can add widgets if we wanted to, like devices, add panels, routes, health. Those are usually the ones that we bring in. And again, there's really nothing added in here. This is just kind of showing the devices and the routes, and we'll get into each one of them a little bit later. But what we do want to do in this part is to import something that already exists. So we're going to go into admin, configuration management, import config, choose file, and I'm going to pick config that I already had and import it. So this was the config that I took off of 94, and it's running the same version of Magnum as what this one is. And this is now going to import that config, and it'll give us something to play with. And if we did want to edit this and load it back onto 94, we could. And there's certain other trucks that if they're running that same version of Magnum, we could load it onto them as well. But if they're running an older version of Magnum, we'd have problems if we save something. So we do have to keep that in mind. This is a very handy tool. All the different Magnum versions. And this takes a few minutes because it is a bigger config. And this is the actual config that's on 94 right now doing a Red Sox game. Okay, so now it just finished loading. It's imported. And then the other thing we want to check on is the servers. So if we go to System and Servers, what it's showing me here, because I imported this config, it has two servers that it can't connect to. So what I'm going to do is delete both of these. And I'm going to add another server. I'm going to give it the IP address. Of that one. So now what this will enable me to do is I can do uploads and I can save stuff, but if I was to import this back to 94, I would have to change those back to be the actual servers that are in the truck. But to work offline, that will allow me to do this. So I could click over here and commit changes. And this is only going to go to the server that I've created, this dummy server. It's not going to affect the guys that are on the truck right now. So now we have a fully configured working system. And again, because I am on the virtual box, it doesn't see the servers up yet. It doesn't see the VIPs and that kind of stuff. It is running. It is configured. I go to help. It shows me that I'm on the right version. And now we can start doing some editing.